Souness, as Connor says, it's a famous night for Sevilla, their first time into the Champions League quarter-final at the fourth time of asking, but it is a dark, bad night for Manchester United. Graham, where did it go wrong for them tonight?
They never started, did they? You think Man United coming into this game, the tail should have been firmly up. You know, the results they've had of recent weeks in the Premier League. You know, coming back from 2-0 down against Palace, you think this is tailor-made for them tonight, but they never got started. They never played at a tempo which was enough to cause this average Seville team a problem. Never did until Seville scored, basically. They just couldn't get out that, I don't know, second, third gear. The major disappointment of no imagination, resorted to just lumping it to a big centre forward, looking for second bits off him. Fellaini's on the pitch, that tells you which way they want to go, thinking he gets something at set piece. It's Manchester United we're talking about. It's Manchester United, the biggest club in the world, arguably. Playing football like that ain't good enough.
Is the blame at the manager's door?
Well, if you were to look at the players that, on paper, you think there's some good players in there, but from Sanchez to Pogba, who's really playing to their full potential? So that has to come down to the manager. The manager's not getting the best out of the group, and that's your job. A manager's first job is to if you walk into a football club, you inherit a group of players, get the most out of that group. When you've been there a few years and you're spending lots of money, same thing applies. It's not happening for United right now.
Neil?
I've never seen a Mourinho team play like that, particularly in Europe at this stage of the campaign. They were totally bereft of idea. And in the end, Sevilla could have won the game 4, 5, 6. Even when Manchester United were going for it, there was no thought to what they were doing. Every long ball was picked up by Sevilla and they just kept coming and breaking. But it was coming, Tommy. We said at half-time, the longer the game goes on at 0-0, the more Sevilla will get confident. Montella makes a brave substitution, but the right one, and they win the tie quite comfortably. And Manchester United, I think it's very, very damaging for not only Manchester United, but Mourinho as well.
You've said, Graham, and before the match you said the same, this is an average enough team. They're fifth in La Liga. They're 26 points off Barcelona, conceded 42
27
goals in La Liga this season. They look like they can't believe their luck tonight.
They didn't believe in the beginning. I don't think they believed until maybe the last half an hour of the game. They turned up to what is a very difficult place to go and get a result, but they did it without being at the best tonight. That is an average Seville team. You can't say that's the top team. No way can you say that's the top team. And they've deserved to go through, quite simply being the better team. Over the two legs, they should have scored in the first leg as well. But they've been a better team tonight, deservedly. Is that Man United, this is I'm going to say all the Man United supporters are watching this. They'll think, it's because he's Liverpool head. I was at the Chelsea game. They got away with that one. Chelsea, more of the ball, played a better football. They got away with that one. Then they went to Crystal Palace and they got themselves out of a hole there big time and showed great character to come back. Again, they get away with it. They have 32% possession against Liverpool at the weekend and win 2-0. But that camouflages the bigger picture. I think today, it finally caught up with them today.
It certainly did. Manchester United are out of the Champions League. Shocked by Sevilla, Manchester United are out of the Champions League after a 2-1 defeat at Old Trafford tonight. Delight for Vincenzo Montella and his team. They are through to the Champions League quarter-finals. And before the match, when we talked about United's approach under Mourinho, you both said, if the result is there, the end justifies the means. That's how he's judged, and everybody moves on. Result wasn't there tonight. Does tonight prove for United fans who are wavering that Mourinho isn't the man for them? Or is that too big a conclusion to take from one tie?
Yeah, they won 2 trophies last year. I think what it proves is that I come back to the weekend when they had 32% possession against Liverpool and they won the game. That you can't do that on a regular basis, have that little possession and win football matches. And I don't know what the possession stat was tonight, but in my head I'm thinking they played second fiddle for most of that game tonight, other than the last sort of 5-10 minutes of the game. They just don't. There's nothing, and I have to be really careful, Tommy, because people think I'm sitting here with a Liverpool head on. I just don't see them playing any football that gets me excited in any shape or form.
I think from a Man United fan's perspective, Graham, is, after this is the second year, third year, is there progress being made? Is there a style of football being implemented? And there's not an improvement on last year. They're not very exciting.
Well, they've won more Premier League matches and scored more goals already this season than they did in the whole of last season.
Okay, how many points are they behind Manchester City?
16.
16 on the out of the last 16. Now, will that be deemed as progress with the amount of investment that's been put in and the amount of investment that Manchester United fans make week in, week out? That performance tonight was abject. It was disjointed, defensively all over the place, attacking-wise flat. And
it's just lack of imagination.
Yeah,
it's lack
creativity.
It's lack of football.
There's nothing on the edge of your seat stuff.
It's just lack of football.
Explain that.
Right. When you're playing well, it's pass and move. You're creating chances. You've got people that can skip. I just wrote something down. I can go back to Morgan and Best, Koppel and Hill, Kanchelski's gigs. You know, people... Even if you weren't a Man United supporter, got you on the edge of your seat, you'd turn the telly on just to watch them players. There's nobody in that team that I feel that way about today. It's not Man United.
Is it the players now or the way they're playing? I mean, some United fans would look at Rashford and players like that.
I think it's a style of play. Honestly, I think it's a style of play. You can't tell me Sanchez goes from being a world-class player to what we've seen tonight, or even Pogba to a certain extent, who looks totally devoid of confidence at the minute. You know, Rashford was the only really one who would try and break the lines and take people on. You know, and you're expecting at Old Trafford, Manchester United to come out of the blocks and put Sevilla under massive pressure. There was none of that. See, it was so easy for Sevilla to play the way into the game.
You're asking me what do you mean by not enough football? Sevilla, who are an ordinary team, had football tonight.
Yeah.
Some of their passing and moving and cute movement and cute control and cute passing. I enjoyed that tonight. You struggle to see any of that with Man United playing today. You know, it's about it's a bit of warfare. It's get it forward quickly. It's outmuscle someone, score from a set piece. There's no cute and clever passing and movement. And as you've pointed out, there's players there that have done that. Mata was, I think, Chelsea's player for 2 or 3 consecutive years before he went to Man United. Man United's player of the year for the last 3 years, I think, is a goalkeeper, and I believe he's made more saves this year than he has in the previous years. And if you're asking me who's the player of the year to date, it would be De Gea again. What does that say about Man United? That tells you they're not a great watch. They're not playing a brand of football that creates a lot of chances. They're not playing a brand of football that gets you on the edge of your seat. And it is entertainment. It's not just about a grind to dig results out. You know, when you walk into a football club, you inherit a group of players. That's the group you've got to work with. You've got to get the most out of that group of players. If you're there for 4 or 5 transfer windows, that's when people could say, well, that's your team. You're now playing the kind of football that you want to play. Now, he's had those windows, he's spent big money, and the kind of football they're churning out isn't good enough for Man United. It just isn't good enough. It ain't going to win you the big trophies. I said before the game, when you come up against the really good teams, they've got a bit of everything, can have a bit of a fight with you, and they can also have football you. And tonight, Man United met a team that had a lot more football in them and stood up to the physical challenge, and they come unstuck. There wasn't, it was a Man United that were just rolled over by a very ordinary team tonight.
Mourinho's teams historically are mentally strong, Graham, as well. So if they're not playing well, they're really difficult to beat, really defend well, really disciplined, all that type of stuff. They were so open tonight, it was untrue. So open. And in the end, you know, Sevilla could have picked them off. Ben Yedder's clean through again. Every time they attacked second half after the first goal, they looked like they were going to score. Now, that would never have happened in Mourinho's former years. So where they're going with this team at the minute, I do not know.
It looked like me. I think we both agree, when you look at that, you look at some of the names that are on that team sheet, some good players there.
Yeah.
Are they buying into the way he wants them to play? The answer's no. I mean, I made this point. I think it's a really hard sell. If Mourinho's selling them, this is the way I'm going to play football. I, as a big player in the dressing room, I'm going to say, whoa, Jose, wait a minute. I think I can play football. I want to take them on, like in Ajax in the Europa League final last May. I want to go out there and out football, and they were a young Ajax team. I want to go out there and out football. I want to take them on in a game of football. I don't want to just be, shown for it as a midfield player, not getting it, lump from the back to the front and fighting for the ball when it drops in there. I think it's a hard sell to big players, and maybe that's part of the problem, that big players are not buying into the way he wants them to play.
Do you think that the flatness maybe in United's performance is players that they're just not believing in what they're doing?
That's the point I'm making. What else could it be? When you break it down, if we both, It's football people.
What else can it be?
There's good names on that team sheet. Man United have good players, but I'll come back to it. The priority for a manager is to get the most out of the group he's working with, and that's not happening.
Right, Guardiola and Mourinho have been in Manchester for 2 years now. Who's making the more progress?
Guardiola, obviously.
Well, last season, you know, Mourinho had 2 trophies, Guardiola didn't have any. Now we're seeing a total flip around. And the players, that's the problem Mourinho has now. He's Guardiola across the road playing all this superb football, winning football, beautiful football, which is what most Manchester fans on both sides want to see. There's a massive discrepancy between the 2 teams at the minute, and he's got some answers to do. I'm going to be very interested to see how he justifies that performance.
Yeah, we'll hopefully hear from him before we're done tonight. Sevilla are through to the last 8 of Europe's top competition for the first time in 61 years. It certainly is. He was surprised by how much possession they had. They had 49% possession, almost 50-50 split there. 20 attempts on goal, and that was kind of the story even at half-time. You know, we showed loads of Sevilla chances, as you both said, a little bit powder puff, and then they made the change and brought Ben Yedder on, and that was it. Yeah,
all of a sudden, you know, a bit of quality, a bit of determination, a bit of aggression up front. Hard to deny them. They deserve to win tonight, and 2-1 doesn't flatter them. You know, if you think of the chances they had at 2-0, at 2-1, it could have been a lot worse.
Here was the change. Montella's man.
Yeah, he looks the finisher, doesn't he? This is the first goal. Prior to what we're showing, there was 10 passes before this move. We show 5 Man United passes before the ball changes over. There was 10 passes prior to this. And if the thing I want to point out, watch the pace of the passes now. Out of your feet, snap. Out of your feet, snap. Whereas United were rolling it about the back as if they've got all night to score a goal. And it's how Man United played all night. They didn't play with any aggression. There has to be a certain amount of aggression at the highest level to win these games, whether it's the way you close down, whether it's you get your passes off, whether it's in tackling, whether it's when you're marking at set pieces, you know, you stand up to pushing and pulling. Man United were miles away from that tonight, miles away from winning big games. And what Neil's going to point out with Bailey for the second goal beggars belief if you're a United supporter.
20 attempts from the away team on goal, Tommy. I think that speaks volumes. You know, there wasn't much in it possession-wise, which possession doesn't win you games anyway. But we could see it coming at half-time. There was, like Graham says, no snap. You see the snap with the 2 passes from Sevilla. Bump, bump. There was none of that from Manchester United tonight.
Montella getting huge credit for bringing Ben Yedder on. Now, he had scored 6 goals in the Champions League before. I wonder why he didn't start him in the first place. But he was on the end of the second one as well.
Well, I mean, you got to see this to believe it. Eric Bailly is not even looking at the ball from a corner. It's 1-0. You're still in the competition. Look at that. Correa just peels off him, and then Ben Yedder reacts because he's a striker. Ashley Young slips. But it's the first header. Look at Correa just run off Matic and Bailly because Bailly's not watching the ball. He's actually facing away from the ball. It's 1-0. You're still in the competition. Now you're out because you can't be bothered doing your job properly. It is amateur stuff from players at that level. And it's unheard of because Mourinho's so detailed in his defensive set plays. De Gea is very unlucky. And by the way, Graham, will he be around next year?
No, no. Why would you? I mean, he's playing in front of a very ordinary team. I mean, all the big clubs would take him in a heartbeat. He's the best around. You know, it says everything. 20 chances tonight they had, Seville. I think De Gea's making more saves this year than he's had to make in any other season he's been at Man United. They're all over the place. They are all over the place.
In terms of a goal like that, and you know, Neil made the point that, well, one thing you do expect from a Mourinho team is to defend well and to be disciplined. You've obviously played in, you know, the latter stages of European big European nights, and you know, I imagine concentration and focus and all that sort of stuff has to be absolutely perfect. I mean, where was that tonight?
But that was so not Man United. Against Liverpool at the weekend, they weren't like that. Against Chelsea the 2 weeks before that, they weren't like that. They were bang at it. I mean, I don't know. I come back to it. All right. No, I'll answer it. I can't see anybody when the ball goes. It's a set piece. Corner kick against Man United in this instance. Who is it? Smalling? No. Is it Bailey? Obviously not, because he's not what's got. Who in that group is it? Matic, who's experienced enough to be a leader and say, you know, whether it's a clap of the hands or a growl at someone, do your job, because it's obvious. If I'm standing in the middle of Man United's goal there, and I look at my centre half who's looking at me, and the ball's over there, I'm growling at him. I'm growling at him.
And you don't want to be growled at.
No, but I'm growling at him. I said, what, you know, obviously.
But they only had maybe 2-3 players Sevilla in the box against maybe 5 or 6 from Manchester United. It is, you know, basics. And I think the brains got scrambled after the first goal winning, and a lot of air went out of them. They seemed deflated. And the second goal, obviously, was coming. It could have been 3 or 4 after that, Tommy.
I wonder, the game on Saturday was a big game, and I know they talk about this was actually a bigger game because it's, Champions, they're out of the contention for the league. But I wonder, as players, when you're so focused, and there was a lot of talk about the job that United did on Liverpool in terms of, the discipline and the preparation they would have done for that game. Is it hard to get yourself mentally up 3 days later?
No, if you've got a choice, do you want to get beat at the weekend so you come into this game lacking confidence, or do you want to play the next game being on a high and beating your biggest rivals 30 miles down the road? Winning creates a winning mentality. You can't wait to play the next game. You can't wait to play the game after that. They came into that game tonight in a perfect situation. They've just beaten, they won the big derby for them. That is the biggest derby they play. Everyone's on a high. But they didn't start tonight. It's as if they just couldn't get themselves out of that third gear into fourth gear to play at a tempo with the aggression to win a big football match. And there's a lot of players have a lot to answer for tonight. I know the manager will get it in the neck, as managers always do. But some of these players have got to stand up and hold their hand up.
Is that the job in any team for senior players, leadership figures, to say, right, Saturday's gone, let's get right up
Tommy,
to where we were?
You go from one big game to another. That's all you want to do in football. You don't really have to do much preparation between the games. They played Saturday morning. They've had a great win, recover Sunday, do a little bit of work on the training ground on Monday. Champions League, last 16, we got a chance to make the quarterfinals. It's as big as they come, and they just didn't perform. They didn't turn up. The tempo of the game was so flat.
See, you've managed Celtic, I've managed Rangers, played for Liverpool.
Yeah.
They don't play easy games. They would just say to us, it's not your biggest game this season. You're playing a team lower down in the league. It's their cup final. It might not be your cup final. Same for Celtic, same for Rangers. But Man United are in that boat. Whoever plays against them, they have to be aware it's a cup final for the opposition.
What do you make of that?
I don't know. Is that deflection?
Massive.
Is that deflection? He should be talking about Man United and not turning up tonight.
He seems to be saying that we move on to Saturday now, and United have lost these games before. When I was manager of Porto and Real Madrid.
Because this is not just about Man United losing to a team they shouldn't have lost to. The performance was well below what's expected of a Man United team. I'll come back to it. They got away with it against Chelsea, in my opinion, and I was at the game. They got away with it against Crystal Palace. Great credit to them coming back from 2-0 down. And they got away with it against Liverpool. They had less of the ball at home against Chelsea. They had less of the ball, they had 32% possession against Liverpool at Old Trafford. Now, you can't say, this is the way I'm going to play football. We'll end up having 32, 35% of the ball, but we'll win. No, you're not. You might win occasionally, you might get lucky occasionally, but you're not going to win too many games with that kind of possession.
And do you think United fans won't put up with it anymore? Do you think there will be a change in the atmosphere at United?
Well, Tommy, let me tell you this. I was at Old Trafford. We get to work for another television company. So I was at we get to Old Trafford on Saturday, a good 2.5 hours before the game, and I was speaking to an Old Trafford legend, an old player, and he said the crowd there are not very happy. They're a couple of games away from expressing that, and I think the game at the weekend against Liverpool would buy that team and that manager a bit of relief. It would buy them a bit of time. Beating Liverpool is a big deal for them. It's the same it would be for Liverpool beating them. But I think that's brought the focus back on to this group of players and the manager. The way they're playing football is not, and I come back to it, is not Man United way of doing things.
I think it's flattened the season for them. Right, they're not going to win the Premier League.
Yeah.
This is a blue ribbon event. This is a great opportunity. It was a decent draw. Wasn't it, Graham? Sevilla. All right, they didn't play well in Sevilla, but they come away with a draw. He's painting a few pictures there. Yeah, we defended well. We got what we came for. Blah blah blah. It was all on tonight, really, for everyone associated. I think fans and players for the club, and it's turned out to be a really damaging night. I think well, not off the field, but certainly on the field with that performance. And they were taken apart in the end, Tommy. They were taken apart. They didn't play any. They were out-footballed, physically. Graham said this before the game. If the team matches a physical team physically, then they go and play. Sevilla did all that, and they are not going to win the Champions League by any stretch of the imagination.
Yeah. And obviously, Mourinho pointed out when he was, the last time he was there in the last 16 was with Real Madrid. But
I don't think Man United fans want to hear that.
Yeah, but losing to Real Madrid in the last 16 is a bit of a different deal than losing to Sevilla.
Absolutely.
So does this change the whole narrative around the last few weeks then, Graham? I mean, you were one of the people saying that they got away with it against Liverpool. It was far from a Mourinho masterclass. Do you think now people are going to start within United and within the United support start questioning and start agreeing with the line that Graham has said?
I think those questions have been there already. I think the expectation level goes through the roof when he starts to spend big money on players.
Yeah.
He's at Man United, which is enormous anyway, but then you've gone out and you've bought Lukaku, you've bought Pogba, and I think Pogba is... I'm now actually feeling sorry for the boy, because tonight he was passing the ball out of play, I think 2 or 3 times, not under pressure. I actually think he's he looks confident the way he moves and things, but I think his confidence must be shot. And then you sign Sanchez, to give you another bit of impetus going in for the second part of the season. And Sanchez has not really got going at all. Not like he was... When he was at Arsenal, there's no sparkle, there's no... I thought that was a good signing.
So did I.
I thought when he goes in there, they'll go again. And it's not had that effect. I think... I'm not sure where he goes with this. And I come back to it, I look at those players, and there's good players, some very good players in that group, but they're not playing to their potential, and that has to be on the manager's shoulders.
But defensively as well, honestly, it could have been more.
Well, let's have a look at some of the chances that Ben Yedder had a couple after he scored the 2, and this is obviously when United are really chasing
Pogba playing a straight ball, that was symptomatic of his performance. Yeah, and now they're caught square, people running off them. This one, big switch of play, and it was chance after chance after chance, because Manchester United lost all the discipline, all the focus. And this wee man, could have had a hat-trick. Again, really second best in the tackle most of the night, Manchester United. Pure passing. That's the nobody from Sanchez. And Sevilla are able to, bring it out. Bailly's caught in 2 minds. Now the square. Nzonzi was outstanding. Look at this. I mean, look, the back four's disappeared.
It's Mata that's chasing them.
Yeah.
It's Mata.
Because they're so far, they're so square, the brains are totally scrambled. That could have been 3. It could have been 4, Tommy. It could have been 5. I've never seen a Mourinho team play as poorly as that, whether it be defensively or actually going for it. He's not getting away with it tonight. He can't get away with that tonight. He got away with it on Saturday. He got away with it against Chelsea. He's not getting away with that in the blue ribbon event tonight.
They certainly did not yet. Sevilla through, Manchester United out. Yes, Manchester United out of the Champions League, as Conor says. It was a dark hole night. We have analysed it already. One point that a lot of United fans are talking about in terms of Mourinho's decision making tonight was starting Fellaini in such a big game. Did that in particular come back to bite them?
Well, you don't get a lot of football out of him. He's a big threat from set pieces. What they were doing here, it was like championship stuff. Get him down the line for throw-ins, put it on his head for flick-ons. Early on, and it was understandable because he's only played... Well, did he come on for a half just recently? He's not played a lot of football. So, when you're playing at the highest level, you've got to have your sharpness about you. To be fair, this was the best bit of football Man United produced in the first half, and he was involved in it. But you're going to be lacking. You've got to be bang at it in midfield. You've got to be sharp. You've got to be mobile. He was neither of those things tonight. But he is a threat from set pieces. People have been talking about how well McTominay's been doing. I think he saw him as a bigger goal threat tonight. He knew he wasn't going to get a full 90 minutes out of him. Thought, keep him on, get a goal, get him off, get McTominay on to close the game out. Slightly concerning for Paul Pogba, I think. You can see he might not have been fully fit, but now McTominay's chosen in front of him, and now a half-fit Fellaini's chosen in front of him. So if you're Pogba, you can't be happy with that.
I mean, is that the key here, Neil? I mean, decisions like that, or where managers are judged.
That's what they get paid for. Yeah,
I mean
big
the clips
decisions.
we showed, there's nothing surprising there. It's not unfair on Fellaini. That's just the player.
But
he is,
listen,
isn't it?
Fellaini was one of many who didn't perform. They were so disjointed, either going forward or at the back. Pogba comes on, in the second half, and he looks a player just totally devoid of any confidence whatsoever. His body language isn't great. Here he is, everything's half-hearted. Poor ball. Ball should have went to the right back. Didn't open his body up. Again, he picks the ball up here in midfield. Touch. Oh. So indecisive, and then does that. I mean, that's an £80 million player. That tells me he's not right. Psychologically, he's not there. Physically, he looks fine. But in terms of his, confidence, it's just not there at all. We even saw it at a stage where he kicked the ball just clean out of play. That was a half-decent effort. But there was no drive about him. Half the player he was at the Euros in 2016. So either there's issues with him off the field or he's issues with the manager. But one thing's for sure, he is not producing anywhere near any kind of form to justify playing for Manchester United or many other teams at the minute. And he's not contributing. I saw him against Crystal Palace the other week. Dilly-dallied about the pitch, jogged about. Tonight he comes on, makes no impact in the game whatsoever.
Graham said, Brian, that he was sorry for him. He felt sorry for him, which is
for a nanosecond.
Quite a big statement. Now, I know you didn't see the game this evening at Old Trafford, Brian, but the point that Neil makes, this is £90 million player with so much ability, and even from the clips you saw there, that lack of confidence, lack of impact on a big game like that. I mean, where does the explanation for that lie?
Well, there's two parts of this. One, the manager who is in charge. Is he getting the best from him? Is he managing him in the right way? And the second thing is the player who left Manchester United because he felt he wasn't getting enough of a chance at the time, Alex Ferguson. And now that same club made a decision to pay a fortune to get him back, knowing his personality. And there's obviously defects in his personality, which are portrayed by some of his behaviour, by some of the hairstyles and the dressing up style and the cars and so on, right? So they knew about that. They'd made a mistake, but the manager is failing to get the best from him. He obviously agreed to this, to go on that road, and thought he was going to make something from him, and he hasn't. So the club are culpable, so is the manager. But so is the player. He's got to be able to deliver. If he hasn't got the confidence has to come from within yourself based on what you've achieved previously. But you also need the manager to give you a bit of confidence and find a way for you to perform. But Graham, they've outlined
as a player, where does it have to come from?
Look, Graham's not been the only one who's been highly critical of Pogba this season. And early on in the season, Mourinho was defending him, saying he's doing this, he's doing that, his stats are good, blah, blah, blah. And they're not now. So something's missing. And they say the relationship between him and the manager, or he's not confident enough anymore, and he should be. When you see him away from football, he's full of it. See him out there tonight, he was like a wee boy.
If you're the United hierarchy, then do you say we've invested massively in this player and in Sanchez, who you say hasn't settled at all in early days for him? Do you say, who do we go for here? Do we back the manager, or do we back the investment in the player?
There's only one winner, and it ain't Mourinho. You go into the dressing room as a manager, you fall out with one player, he's got four mates that he's close to. Together, in the modern dressing room, they might be worth a couple £100 million. And the manager in a transfer market is worth, remind me again, how much is a manager worth? Nothing. But collectively,
he's on big money, Mourinho.
But collectively, they're worth 200 million. And if they're not playing well, and if they're not in a team, that 200 million value goes down to 125 million. So there's only ever one winner. The players get their way ultimately. But that boy, I mean, is he 25 now? 25 years old? Yeah. I mean, he's not 21, 22, 23. And I come back to it, there's, when we talk about Pogba, there's one thing in my head that sort of jumps. If he had been that good first time round at United, would Fergie have allowed him to go? Fergie was the best in the business at coming over to Ireland and sitting in a boy's room with his parents and persuading them United was the right club. He'd be in Belfast, every other weekend. I mean, nobody worked harder at being successful than Fergie. If Fergie had really wanted Pogba to stay, I'm sure Pogba wouldn't have been allowed to go. he would have made sure he stayed. So maybe Fergie saw something in him that wasn't right then.
He knew a thing or two, didn't he? That's about all we've time for tonight. Manchester United out of the Champions League. Thanks to Graham, Neil and Brian for their expertise this evening.